When players first step foot onto the floor, one of the most common general warm-up activities coaches will do is to have them run around the perimeter to get the blood flowing and the sticks going. Goalies can be taking shots from a coach while this is happening, or players can take shots, as we will see in the latter variations of this drill. The most basic variation of the drill is variation 1A, where players are encouraged to run around the entire outside of the box with no balls. Both directions, once one way and once the other, with the only instruction being to hold the stick with two hands. You'd be surprised how many players don't end up following this one instruction. And you'll also see all kinds of interesting ways that they choose to hold the stick, often with the butt end of the stick hanging out, which is also a telltale sign that the stick may be too long for them. Once players have ran their 2 laps, coaches should bring them in for a debrief, showing them how to properly hold the stick, with their bottom hand using an overhand grip and their top hand shoulder width apart and using an underhand grip, with the stick up in the triple threat position. These players should then be encouraged to hold their stick on whichever side of their body that they chose to run around the perimeter with for all subsequent drills, not scooping the ball on one side and then throwing it on the other, for instance. It may also be worth mentioning that the coach said to run around the entire outside of the rink, whereas many players were likely cutting corners, which is a good chance to teach the life lesson of why it's important not to cut corners. In variation number 1B, balls are added to the equation, as seen in this video, with players following the same instructions as the previous variation, except players run around the side/end boards with balls, two-handed cradling in both directions, with no passing. Variation 1C is also the same orientation as the other variations, except players are now permitted to take shots on the goalie if they make eye contact with each other. Players then gather loose balls and are also able and encouraged to pass amongst each other and the coaches who are in the middle, which, as mentioned, is one of the most popular general warm-up activities used in a lacrosse practice. The next activity following a drill like this, where players are in a steady state of aerobic cardio, ideally until breaking a sweat, usually 3 to 5 minutes, is to perform dynamic stretches. You want to do dynamic stretches when the blood and muscles are warm, which is something that will be broken down in another video dedicated to properly warming up and cooling down.